choose this pattern because I've made it many times before. I have it ready, I have it cut out, prepped, so that I can use it as a demonstration for this video. Generally, every pattern will have the different sizings up on the flap of the envelope. Keep in mind, the sizing used in the patterns are not the sizings you use when you buy clothes in the store. It's by measurements only, not by what retail calls vanity sizing. Because I'm in Canada, the pattern comes with 2 languages, English and French. On the English side, it's all in imperial, using inches and yards. Over on the French side, all the measurements are in metric. Without being taught imperial, how do I know what 2 3/8 of a yard is? Going over to the French side, it's 2.2 meters. If you're English like me, figure out what you need on the English side. I'm making B, size medium. Go over to the French side, I need 2 meters. Quite often, a pattern will tell you how easy or difficult it is to sew. This one is fast and easy, and I would agree with this because I could probably make a B pattern in about an hour and a half from start to finish. And that would include cutting out fabric. It's quite easy. When you open up the instructions, you'll see some of the same information that you saw on the back of the envelope, including sizing and length of fabric. You'll see how many pieces are included with the pattern. This one has 5. It'll also show how to lay out your pieces for each individual garment that you're going to be making. SL here means the selvage, which is the edge of the fabric. This edge here is the manufacturing edge, and this is your cut edge for when you buy your fabric. It will show you how to lay out your pattern pieces on the fabric. This is the right side of the fabric. This is the reverse side of the fabric. So this image right here is the visual representation of cutting one piece on a fold. I'll show you that in a minute or so. This is cut one piece, flip the pattern piece, cut the other piece. So it is a mirror image of what you just cut. And it shows layout suggestions for A, B, C, and D. It'll also show step-by-step instructions on the construction of each tunic top. If you want to see this as a demonstration on how to read a pattern, make a comment down below. Next, cut out all of your pieces. So we have all 5 pieces here. This is the front. There's the sleeve. That's the back. This is the front. This is the cowl collar. Since I'm in Canada, there's usually 2 sets of instructions, one in English, one in French. I'll put the unused pieces in the French instructions to keep them in one place, safe and organized, so I don't lose them. You may have noticed when I'm doing a sewing instruction video, I have the maximum size pattern cut out, the largest size. This is what I was taught when I was taught to sew. If you need a smaller size, you can just fold the size down. So say I want to make an extra small. I will take the sides of the pattern and fold it down to the extra small size and cut out my fabric that way without cutting out just the size small. In doing that, I have not ruined the pattern. I don't have to go out and buy another pattern in case it doesn't fit anymore. The pattern is in its best condition. I can use it again for someone who is larger than an extra small. I also don't retrace my patterns. I use them as is. If I need to make changes to a pattern piece, I do have a material that I use instead of altering the tracing paper pattern that comes with the envelope. If you've watched my videos before, you'll notice that I have a material that's very similar to non-woven interfacing. It's translucent, you can see through it. It's actually the dust cover to go underneath couches that you just staple on and you'll never see again, unless your cat shreds it. It's very good for using as a tracing paper. You can actually sew it, it's very versatile. You can see your pattern underneath it to make any alterations. Folds very nicely, can be put into the envelope along with the rest of your pattern. On many pattern pieces, you'll find a double line indicated that says lengthen or shorten here. This is where you would essentially lengthen or shorten the pattern piece to adjust to your particular measurements. Also, in reading your pattern pieces, you'll see these little tiny triangles all along the edges. These are alignment points. One triangle means it's the front of the garment. 2 means it's in the back. So this being the sleeve piece, the 2 means it's in the back of the arm, and this is the front of the arm. When you make the sleeve, the little triangles are your indicator of which direction your pattern piece is facing. When you fold it in half, you use the side triangles to match up your sides so that they are even. Fabric tends to come in 3 different widths. Quilting cottons and flannelettes tend to come in 115 centimeters wide or 45 inches. Upholstery fabrics come in 140 centimeters wide or roughly 54 inches, and fashion fabrics come in 150 centimeters wide or approximately 60 inches. The pattern that I'm using as an example can only be made with 150 centimeter wide fabric. This simplicity pattern has 2 of the different fabric width options. If you're using a fabric that is only 115 centimeters wide, it will require 4.6 meters of fabric for the size 10, but you'll only need 3.5 meters if your fabric is 150 centimeters wide. Make sure you pay attention to this. On your pattern piece, there will most of the time be an arrow indicating a direction. That indicates the direction of the grain line of how you're going to lay your pattern piece. This is the selvage edge. That's the manufacturer's edge. This is your cut edge. The grain line runs parallel to the selvage. You'll line up the grain line with the arrow on your pattern piece. In the past, if I have been short of fabric, I have turned the pattern piece perpendicular to what I have been instructed to. Mainly because I work in costumes, it's not an everyday garment, so therefore, in my opinion, it doesn't matter that much. It's not for everyday wear. No one's going to notice. It's fine. But more often than not, follow the grain line that's indicated on the pattern piece. Next we have piece 2 in the pattern. For pattern A or for pattern B. As you can see, there is no seam line in the center of the garment. And on this pattern piece, there's a small indicator that reads center front on fold, cut 1 on fold. You're supposed to cut 1 piece placed on a fold. So if I have my fabric laid out with the selvage on the left, this means the fabric is folded right here. I'll take the pattern piece and line it up with the fold. Pin it down or use weights, however you want to, and then cut out the piece without moving it from the fold. When you open it up, you'll have a symmetrical piece of fabric that is the front of the garment. If you're using a Vogue pattern, they actually have a small indicator of what body shape the pattern will look good on. If you're like me, and a little bit bottom heavy, this triangle indicates that it's good for people that are wider on the bottom. This one is indicating top heavy, and the square one is for people who don't have much of a waist. So this pattern is good for any body shape. Sometimes you'll find little markers like this that are small triangles. Sometimes it's small or large circles. These are for matching up parts of the pattern. So first you line up the arrow with the grain line, cut the piece out, fold it in half, and using the triangular marks to line up the pieces, sew it into the circle. After doing that, you would fold it in half, baste the bottom, and then the triangles here on the pattern piece, it will line up on the shoulders of the front pattern piece. If you have any more questions, or if I omitted something, write it down in the comments, and then I can answer each one, or I'll make a second video addressing each topic. Thanks for watching, and happy sewing!